All right. What's up, everybody in Facebook land? I wanted to talk to you about something about anxiety. So, a little background on why I decided to do this video. A couple of weeks ago, or about 3 weeks ago, I started feeling anxious for no reason. Felt very nervous and didn't really know why. And it seemed like actually my mind was racing to try to find reasons to be fearful or to be nervous, even about things that wouldn't normally bother me. And so I did the thing that is really important to do when you have a problem and you don't know how to address it. I sought help. So I asked my good friend, Luis Fernando Mises, what was going on. And he said to me that actually it's interesting because a lot of people have been feeling like this at the moment. So unfortunately, there's been a few people in the liberty community who have actually taken their own lives. And I think it's somehow related to this. Peace be upon them. And people are outside of the liberty community having problems as well. Luis said it was something to do with solar flares. And also there's been a couple of eclipses just in the last month. There was an eclipse, solar eclipse, I believe, visible from Paraguay and Argentina. Oh, well, not Paraguay. It was a bit cloudy, but and then there was a lunar eclipse a couple of weeks ago as well. So sometimes I think I don't exactly know the relationship or how this works astrologically or astronomically. I don't really know. But what I do know is something funny is going on. So I went through my mental processes and got some advice from Luis, of course. So Luis has got a video about this, which he'll probably release in upcoming weeks and probably charge a small fee so people can take advantage of his yogic and scientific knowledge on the subject. But I'll just share with you one of the techniques. I've got about 5 ideas here, 5 quick tips that I want to share with you to help you increase your happiness and quality of life. But one thing that Luis told me was this simple exercise from yoga, this breathing exercise. And what you do is you make this sign. It looks like the shocker, 2 in the pink, 1 in the stink. But you put the index finger and your middle finger on your forehead like this, and with your ring finger and your thumb, you're going to adjust your breathing. So it's like alternate nostril breathing. So you'll breathe in through your left nostril, hold it for a few seconds, breathe out through your right nostril, breathe in through your right nostril, hold it, breathe out through your left nostril. And then you continue that cycle. Now, a lot of people will do that and they'll think, this looks a bit silly. What am I even doing? I implore you, please persist. If you do it just 1 cycle, 2 cycles, it's probably not going to have the effect. But if you do 5 cycles or do it for 5 minutes, you're going to start to feel a bit more relaxed. And there's some yogic reasons and some scientific reasons behind that Luis gets into a bit in his video. But the important thing is to do it. Now, there are a few pitfalls with it. One thing is, of course, people feel self-conscious about doing something weird like that in public. And what I can tell you from my own experience is people don't really care. So go ahead and do it in public anyway. But you can always retreat to a bathroom if you need a quiet space for a few minutes. The other pitfall is mainly related about blocked nostrils. Some people erroneously believe that they have cartilage blocking one of their nostrils. It's generally not the case. It's normally just a blocked nostril, or the fact is the nostrils alternate about every 45 minutes. That's part of why this exercise is so good, because it helps get oxygen through both sides of the brain at once, something like that, and it helps integrate the two hemispheres. So it gets you thinking more integrally. Now, the next thing I want to say is normally the problem isn't the problem. Normally the problem is how you think about the problem. So having a certain mental experience of the feelings that you have in your belly affects you a lot. Now, this is something that I learned years ago from the book Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway by Susan Jeffers. And I recommend the book. It's actually one of the books which sent me on the path of self-development. So highly recommend it. I don't necessarily agree with everything in it, but have a look at that. And Jeffers gives this example where she's holding a seminar and somebody comes up to speak and says, oh, well, I have these problems. I have these panic attacks. I have them all the time. And it just feels so out of control. And she says, I feel like I'm going to have one now. And Jeffers says, oh, go ahead. Have a panic attack. I've never seen one. Actually, I'd like to see what that looks like. And the woman starts trying to have a panic attack. And as it turns out, having a panic attack when you're trying to have one isn't as easy as it seems. So you might have heard this expression if you've looked into Zen or Taoism or anything. What you resist persists. And it's not just a cute saying. It's not just true because it rhymes. It is actually, there's a lot to that. So if you want to be afraid, be afraid. Go ahead. Give yourself permission. Nothing is going to happen if you just feel that emotion fully for a moment. There's nothing wrong with it. You want to be nervous? Go ahead and be nervous. You want to be anxious? Go ahead. Feel the anxiety. In the words of comic book artist and sage Ben Montero, there's nothing wrong with being alone. Hang on. No, that's not the phrase. It's okay to be alone. That's what he said. That's what he wrote. So if you want to be afraid, be afraid. If you want to be anxious, be anxious. And what you'll find normally is when you do that, when you have that mental frame about it, sometimes the anxiety vanishes very rapidly. And it's funny how that works. So the next thing is you have a lot of things running through your head. You're there thinking about what you're going to have for breakfast tomorrow, the deadline, the video that you should have put up, the live stream about anxiety, which you planned to do a week ago, but didn't, and procrastinated. There's a limit to the amount of things that you can have in your mind. So buy a notepad, and it's good sometimes. Let go of your telephone and your computer. Use an old-fashioned notepad and write down what you want to accomplish or what's on your mind. Some people might think that writing a diary is something that only teenage girls do, writing down their crushes, talking about their feelings. Actually, some of the greatest people in history have journaled. So, for example, the Stoics recommended this process, and also Marcus Aurelius, who was a Stoic, emperor of Rome, and dedicated to self-development, self-knowledge. What you have on a page, you don't have to keep in your mind. So if you have these 8 things that you're trying to manage and trying to juggle, and then you jump from one thing to the next, hoping that you don't forget it, if you have it on a page, then you don't have to worry about it so much. You can see it there visually, and you can address it point by point if you need to. And also just letting everything get out, a sort of brain dump. I don't know how it works exactly, but it's very therapeutic. So the greater point, which I'll talk about in another video, is about having a system and thinking about how to make things easy for yourself. The next point I want to talk about is mindfulness. So I know a lot of you are familiar with the work of Eckhart Tolle. The work that I always recommend to people is the audiobook version of Practicing the Power of Now, and especially in English, if you can get it, or if you you understand English well, because that's a version which Eckhart Tolle read himself, and so you can hear the peace and tranquility in his words, in everything he says, and it starts to get a little contagious, I could say. It starts to get into you. You can feel the peace, feel the calm. Now, I'm just going to lead you through a little meditation and just take about 3 minutes. I just want you to become aware of the distractions. Now, maybe there's birds chirping outside, or maybe there's a dog barking, the sound of traffic on the street. Maybe there's something within your own mind. You're thinking about some deadline you have to meet, a song stuck in your head, thinking about your job. You don't have to address all these things now. You don't have to clear your mind of them. It's enough to be aware of them. Just be aware. Take a moment. Now, gently bring your attention to your body. Focus on your feet, your left foot, your right foot. Feel where your foot touches the shoe or the sock. Be aware of the sensations in your feet. Now move your attention to your calves, and you'll notice there's a kind of heaviness to them, something pulling you towards earth. They kind of want to stay fixed in the same position, keeping you grounded. You know, Mother Earth loves you so much. Perhaps that's why she's always trying to bring you back down to earth. Now, just feel your thighs. As you feel your thighs, you notice there's a certain energy within, a certain tingling. Now, what is that? Maybe it's the electricity of your central nervous system. Maybe it's actually the energy of life itself. As you move your awareness into your belly, feel your breath moving deeply within you, and you might find yourself sitting up to ease the flow of your breath so it can come straight down your spine, deep into your belly, and focus on your chest. You feel your lungs filling. And as you breathe out, feel your diaphragm relaxing. Now remember, it's not a race. You don't have to get that breath out in a hurry. There's no prize for being first, and there's no prize for keeping it in either. Just let it out slowly. Now focus on your neck. You might notice there's a bit of tension in your neck, and if you wiggle it a little bit, it can relax quite easily. Same with the jaw. Maybe just massage your jaw a little bit. A lot of tension holds in the jaw, and that's why people start to do stuff like grind their teeth at night. I know I have that problem. And then focus on your head and just relax. Focus on the top of your head and feel the muscles soothe themselves. Now that you're feeling relaxed, I want to tell you something very important. And it's this. You are powerful. You have the power to guide your thoughts and to guide your actions, your speech. When you change your habits, you can change your destiny. You might think of yourself, some people think of themselves as anxious people. And they say, I am an anxious person. They say, that's just who I am. But really, identity is something fleeting. You've never been the same person for more than one day or more than one moment. And that's why the question, who am I, is known as one of the great mysteries among the sages. Sometimes it's comforting to have a certain identity. If you identify as an anxious person, that might be more comforting than not knowing who you are. But right now, you can give yourself permission. You don't have to be a certain person. You don't have to be a certain way. Today, you are as you have always been. Today, you were made anew. Thank you so much for listening. Now, remember, have a look out for Luis's video when he releases it. I think he's just going to charge a few dollars so people can get his insights on the subject. Mr. Shamans with Guns, Luis Fernando Mises. Remember to check out Susan Jeffers' book, Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway, which is a great first book to read for people starting on the path of self-development. And Eckhart Tolle's Practicing the Power of Now, the audiobook in English. Thank you so much. I'll release another video about this. This is, like I said, I'm kind of procrastinating about this because there's actually so much to talk about. It's a very interesting subject, and it's also a very powerful subject to give people a chance to relax and begin to transform. So I hope to get that video up within the next couple of weeks. Have a great day. Peace be with you. Peace be upon you. Stay grateful.